Faker and a bunch of other pros have started spamming Nasus mid in solo queue, and they're actually winning a ton with it too. 17 wins and only 7 losses among all the pros that have tried it out, and the pick even has a very good win rate for solo queue as well. So we'll be breaking down this new build along with 9 others that are extremely powerful for patch 14.17. And did you know mastering your champion will boost your win rate by a massive 9% on average? That's why at SkillCapped we offer Smurf commentaries. Simply select the champion you want to master and get guides from challenger experts teaching you how to play your champion in the exact rank you're stuck in. You're even guaranteed to have all your questions answered by that very same challenger expert. After that, take one of our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, setting, and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. The best part, you can try all this out completely risk-free. Since if you don't rank up while actively using SkillCapped, you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below right now to get the rank you've always dreamed of. This new off-meta build for Tahm Kench top lane has been seeing a ton of success in solo queue as of late, and it consists of running Riftmaker. Not only do you take Riftmaker, but you're also going to be slotting in Rocket Belt. Rush item will be Heart Steal because the item is just too good to pass up on with Tahm, but then you transition into Riftmaker second and Rocket Belt third, and this has been the highest win rate core for Tahm over the past patch. This core is just so great for solo queue because it offers up a lot more solo carry power than full tank. I bet a lot of you guys didn't even know that Tahm actually has some pretty ridiculous AP scaling on his Q and W, which is a big reason to why the build is viable. Q has a 100% AP ratio and W scales off 150%, so the AP from both items are not going to waste in the slightest. The added kill threat that you have with this build is just super nice, as it allows for you to take matters into your own hands more often instead of just being this super beefy frontline tank. Rune page to go along with the build is Grasp, followed by Demolish, Second Wind, and Overgrowth, while Triumph and Alacrity are for secondaries. Now, Tahm Kench is not the only top lane tank who has had a new carry build emerge, as Cho'Gath is finding great success with this hybrid setup. It's actually Trinity Force that has been performing the best as Cho'Gath's second purchase, as you just have a lot of consistent skirmish strength with the item. Cho'Gath E is on a 4-second cooldown at max rank, which is when you'll have Trinity Force, so you're going to be able to get multiple procs of the Trinity Force Spellblade passive off in extended fights. Spellblade procs combined with Cho E damage allows for him to have a much stronger skirmish and just more raw carry strength overall. Here's what the core build is looking like, as we've got Warmogs as the rush item, Trinity Force is slotted in second, and then it's situationally tanky from then on out. So the Warmogs is great to provide that initial tankiness for Cho, and then Trinity comes in for a nice mid-game boost in damage that many players will not expect. That is a really big pro to playing this build right now too, because people have become so accustomed to playing against full tank Cho'Gath and knowing his damage limits, so if you pull out this Trinity build and the enemy has never played against it, you'll have a massive edge up in fights. For the rune page, you'll be taking Grasp with Demolish, Conditioning, and Overgrowth, while Free Boots and Approach Velocity are for secondaries. Skarner buffs from last patch have brought him back into a pretty good spot for solo queue, but there's a new build that is boosting that strength even more. I guess players are just really loving their hybrid builds as of late, because we've got another setup here from a traditional tank that involves more offensive purchases. Similar to the Cho'Gath build, you're still going to be rushing a tanky item so that you maintain that durability, and Heartsteel is the way to go on Skarner. After Heartsteel though, this is where things get spicy, as you drop the standard Sunfire Aegis and replace it with Steric's Gauge. And then for the third item, which ties the build together, you grab Unending Despair. Now, the Steric's with Heartsteel actually has some really nice synergy, because the shield that you get from Steric's scales off 80% of your bonus health. You get 400 health from Steric's and then 900 from Heartsteel, so 1,300 bonus health in total. So then if we do a little math here, 80% of 1,300 equates to a 1,040 health shield. Now, Unending Despair synergizes great with this build as well, because its passive has bonus health scaling too. So it's really just a core build that takes full advantage of all the health that you get from the setup, and it's been Skarner's best performing solo queue build over the past patch. Grasp is the best keystone rune to take with this build, followed by Shield Bash, Conditioning, and Overgrowth, while Free Boots and Approach Velocity are for secondaries. Amumu has been gaining in priority a ton over the past few patches, and there's a build that a lot of players are sleeping on right now. Most Amumu players are running Liandry's into Sunfire Aegis as their 2-item core, but Riftmaker in place of Sunfire is performing insanely well. It's the same build that we have been seeing on Lilia as of late, and it provides Amumu with incredible teamfight impact in the mid game. You're able to play the champ more like an assassin instead of a tank, as diving the back line and using your full combo on a squishy target will take them out. Amumu does fare quite well in drawn out fights where he can keep his W running and spam out E consistently, and this build complements that super well. Both Riftmaker and Liandry's have ramping elements to them, so the longer you last in fights, the more value you get out of both items. For the rune page, look to grab Conqueror with Triumph, Haste, and and Last Stand, while Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter are for secondaries. So as we mentioned during the intro, the new craze in the mid lane over the past patch has revolved around pros starting to pick up Nasus mid. Now what's pretty interesting about this is that it doesn't only seem to be a pro-skewed pick, as in over 50,000 solo queue Nasus mid games, which is a pretty good sample size, it has over a 52% win rate. So what's the idea behind the pick, and how is the build structured? Well, if you look at when Faker has been picking Nasus mid in solo queue, it's always when the enemy comp has at least 3 physical damage champions. Even with all the success that Nasus mid has been finding in solo queue, the champ is definitely a little better suited for pro play and high elo, where they are playing a bunch of ADCs in the mid lane. In Faker's match history, he has been playing Nasus against the likes of Zeri and Tristana. However, he does still have some games where he's playing it into an AP mid like Aurelion Sol. The value of the Nasus mid pick is really going to shine through against those auto attack reliant champs though, because Nasus W shuts them down extremely hard. The core build that Faker has really been liking consists of an Iceborne Gauntlet Rush into Frozen Heart 2nd and Jockshow 3rd. Now it's very important that you run the correct skill order when playing this Nasus mid, as you'll be putting 4 points into E and then maxing Q when up against a ranged mid. The early game of Nasus mid is really nothing too special, and you're taking points in E so that you can stay up and farm against those ranged matchups. Now if you're in a melee matchup and you won't need to farm from range, just going for the straight Q max is definitely the play. Your summoner spells are key to succeeding with the pick, as well as you should be taking Ghost with Teleport. And then for the rune page that Faker has been liking, it consists of Phase Rush with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, followed by Biscuits and Approach Velocity for secondaries. There's this rune setup that has started finding some really good success on Katarina in solo queue, but it's still yet to really catch on. Electrocute and Conqueror have been the standard keystone runes for Katarina for a long time now, but with Dark Harvest getting buffed multiple times in the past few patches, it's actually been outperforming both. One of the changes that Riot issued to Dark Harvest consisted of lowering the on takedown cooldown on the rune from 1.5 to 1 second. For most champs, this change is not a big deal, but for someone like Katarina, who has the reset mechanic built into her kit, she can easily look for a second target to kill after taking one out. So Dark Harvest coming back up faster after a kill can be huge for her. Just the reset mechanic that Katarina has in general works great with Dark Harvest, because you have the potential to acquire multiple procs to the rune throughout an extended skirmish. Something we found pretty interesting as well is that Dark Harvest on Cat has actually been winning more in high elo than in low elo. You'd think that the lower elo games, which tend to last longer, would elicit better results for Dark Harvest, but the rune is finding success in every single elo bracket on the champ. So here's the complete rune page that you'll want to try out, as it's Dark Harvest with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter, followed by Triumph and Coup de Grace for secondaries. Core build will consist of Lich Bane into Shadow Flame, while Zanya's or Rabadon's are interchangeable third. A new Jinx build has started to see more play as of late, and it does not involve Kraken Slayer or Infinity Edge as rush items. Blade of the Ruined King is gaining in popularity on Jinx, and it's actually winning more than Kraken Slayer as a rush. In 14.15, the item was being played in only 1% of games on Jinx, but then in 14.16, it's jumped to about 3%, so it's becoming more popular every single patch. The core build in general is actually super unique, as it's Hurricane as the second purchase instead of Phantom Dancer. So what are the pros to going for this core as opposed to Kraken with Phantom Dancer? Well, you do have the percent health damage from Blade, and then you've got the splash damage from the Hurricane bolts, which means the build is very well suited at taking down a comp with a beefy frontline. If you're playing up against an enemy team who has a tank top laner and jungle, then that's where prioritizing this build can be really valuable. The complete core that you'll want to try consists of Blade of the Ruined King into Hurricane 2nd and Infinity Edge 3rd. For the rune page, it's Press the Attack with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Cut Down, followed by Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm for secondaries. A build that we've been quite fond of for a while that has just started to see a nice spike in play over the past patch is Manamune on Smolder. It's like what you'd build on Ezreal with the Trinity Force Rush into Manamune 2nd, which provides Smolder with an incredible mid-game spike. Smolder is definitely more of a scaling pick, so the Manamune purchase just makes so much sense for him. The raw damage that you'll be outputting with your Q in mid-game fights will be great, and you also don't have to worry at all about spamming your abilities due to all the mana you get. The third item in the build path will be Rapid Fire Cannon to round out the core. As for the rune page, it will consist of Fleet Footwork with Absorb Life, Haste, and Cut Down, followed by Biscuits and Jack of All Trades for secondaries. Senna builds have been all over the place in the past patch due to her mini rework, but there is this one setup in specific that's very powerful but very underrated. Black Cleaver Rush has made its way back into meta on Senna, but so far it's only being purchased in around 5% of games. What makes Black Cleaver so powerful on Senna now is that you get 2 passive stacks from Cleaver whenever you use your Q and whenever you siphon a soul from an enemy. This means that a Q into auto attack combo gives you an instant 4 stacks of Black Cleaver on the enemy, which gives the item so much more value. Just the added tankiness that Black Cleaver provides is really nice for a squishier support like Senna as well, because you're not as reliant on positioning perfectly in fights to stay alive. And especially with the nerfs coming through to Senna's AP ratios this patch, the more popular popular Echoes of Helia build becomes weaker, which gives even more indirect rise to Black Cleaver. So here's how your core build should be structured as you're taking Bloodsong for the item upgrade with Black Cleaver and Rapid Fire Cannon. There are honestly a bunch of options for the rune page when playing this build, as there isn't a cut and dry #1 keystone. Fleet, Grasp, and Area are all viable pickups. However, with Fleet getting nerfed for this patch, leaning more toward Grasp or Area is likely the better play. With Warmogs getting nerfed quite heavily for this patch, you're going to want to be quick to adapt your builds, and there's a new setup that's already been performing great for Thresh that you can swap over to. Over the past patch, we've seen a spike in popularity of Trailblazer on Thresh, and the stats are looking incredible as well, with Trailblazer winning more than Locket and Warmogs. One of the big perks to building Warmogs was the fact that you got so much bonus movement speed from the item, so Trailblazer does a good job at replacing that. You get the flat 5% movement speed from Trailblazer, along with another 20 movement speed from the passive. Celestial Opposition is also getting nerfed for this patch, but that doesn't matter at all if you're playing this build because it's Solstice Slay that you're going to prioritize. So Trailblazer along with Solstice Slay is such a great solo queue build for Thresh because you have so much added movement speed, which really helps to find those hook angles or to just simply walk right up to the enemy and use E. Aftershock is going to be the best keystone rune for Thresh with Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Overgrowth, while Biscuits and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So there you have it everyone, 10 new builds that you can look to try that are extremely powerful for patch 14.17. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.